Honor Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu on his appearance day. I'm going to tell a little bit about the reasons for his appearance and his relationship with Krishna himself, and some of his pastimes which show his divinity in a big way, which are very inspiring. So you're all familiar with Krishna and his Bhagavad Gita. So in Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter, Krishna talks about how we're all souls, and then he talks about different kinds of yoga. He talks about karma yoga, the yoga of action. He talks about jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge. He talks about dhyana yoga, the yoga of meditation. He talks about bhakti yoga. And he says of all these yogas, the best one is bhakti yoga. There's 3 verses where he stresses, Prabhupada would quote, Bhakti mama vijanti yavanyas tasmi tattva stomam tattvato gatva vishate anantaram. I can be understood as I am only by bhakti, devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by this bhakti, he can enter into the eternal spiritual kingdom. So then at the tail end of Bhagavad Gita, throughout the Gita, he says, I'm going to give you more confidential knowledge, and then I'm going to give you more confidential knowledge. And finally, at the tail end of the 18th chapter, he says, I'm going to give you the most confidential knowledge. And he says to Arjuna, I'm speaking this for your benefit. And he says, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me. Abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me. I'll protect you from all sinful reactions you do not fear. So although Krishna made this very amazing exposition of spiritual knowledge, which many people are familiar with, not so many people actually did what Krishna said. Not so many people actually became pure devotees of Krishna, developed their love of God, and went back to the spiritual kingdom. So he was feeling that this was unfortunate. He was seeing that despite all this knowledge, this theoretical knowledge I gave about devotional service and attaining my supreme abode, people aren't taking it seriously. Therefore, I'm going to try a new strategy. Instead of telling people what to do, I'm going to come as a devotee and demonstrate how to be the ideal devotee of Krishna. So this is Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita, who was here 5,000 years ago, who spoke on that battle of Kurukshetra. He came again 500 years ago, appearing in West Bengal, Nadia district in Mayapur. This time not showing his opulence as the supreme Godhead by killing all kinds of demons like Kamsa and like that, but instead acting as the ideal devotee. So there's many references actually, although he's not as famous as Krishna himself, there are many references in the scriptures to his appearance. In the Bhagavad Purana, which we are called the Srimad Bhagavatam, main verse goes, Krishna Varn Krishna Krishnam Sagopadnastra Parshnam Yagnai Sankirtana Praya Vijati Sumedisa. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting, like we were just doing, to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. So Krishna Varna actually has 2 meanings. One, he sings the names of Krishna, and the other is that he's in the category of Krishna. He's Krishna himself. Although his complexion is not blackish, Krishna, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, like he's accompanied by Nityananda, and there's a smaller picture in between that shows some other Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas. He's accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. So there's other Vedic verses that show that Krishna, that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord himself. There's the Caitanya Upanishad, where it says, Lord Gaura, who is the all-pervading supersoul, the personality of Godhead, appears as a great saint and powerful mystic, who is above the 3 modes of material nature and the emblem of transcendental activity. He disseminates the cult of devotion throughout the world. So it mentions his name that he's the Supreme Being, and it spreads bhakti everywhere. There's another scripture, the Krishna Yamala Tantra, where it says, I shall appear in the holy land of Navadvip as the son of Sachi Devi. So here it tells where he's going to actually appear and who his mother is. And then the Vayu Purana, there's 18 Puranas. So the Vayu Purana is another Purana. Kalo Sankirtane Sankirtanarambe Abhishati Sachi Sucha. In the age of Kali, when the Sankirtan movement, this congregational chanting movement, is inaugurated, I shall descend as the son of Sachi Devi. And another one, Brahmi Yamala Tantra. Sometimes I appear personally on the surface of the world in the garb of a devotee, so specifically appear as the son of Sachi in Kali Yuga for the start of the Sankirtan movement. And one more, the Ananta Samhita. Yaeva Bhagavan Krishna Radhika Pranabhalava Shristado Sajagat Nato Gaura Asi Maheshwar. The Supreme Person, Sri Krishna himself, who is the life of Radharani, and the Lord of the universe and creation, maintenance, and annihilation, appears as Gaura. So this very same person, Krishna, who spoke the Bhagavad Gita, appeared again 500 years ago in West Bengal, Greek Valley. So while he was present, he acted as an ideal devotee in many ways that we can learn from. One thing was he accepted a guru who was a highly elevated devotee of Krishna, Ishvara Puri, and under the direction of Ishvara Puri, he chanted the holy name of Krishna. And by that chanting, he developed a very high level of love of God. And he taught his followers to always chant a fixed number of holy names of Krishna every day. That was one of his main teachings. He quoted one verse about the value of chanting the holy name. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam Kevalam, Kolod Nashteva, 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 Gatir Anita. In this age of Kali, if one wants to attain spiritual perfection, he must chant the holy name. He must chant the holy name. He must chant the holy name. There's no other way. There's no other way. There's no other way. So he really stressed that above everything. And the last 18 years of his life, he lived in Jagannath Puri, and his companions from Navadvip used to travel all the way there to see him. If you look it up on Google, it's 112 hours it takes to walk from Navadvip to Jagannath Puri. So if you walk 8 hours a day, you can do it in 2 weeks. So they used to come and see him. And while he was there in Puri, he would do this congregational chanting morning, noon, and evening. And another thing he did that was exemplary is he would observe all the festivals of Krishna. He would observe the Janmashtami in a big way, and Rath Yatra in a big way, and Kartik in a big way. And he taught that we should worship the deity, and we should see the deity every day. He went to Jagannath Puri every morning. He went to see Lord Jagannath. Another of the teachings of Lord Caitanya is that we should only eat food that's been offered to Krishna. And there in Jagannath Puri, they offer Lord Jagannath 54 times a day all kinds of food, and there's tons of Krishna prasada. So one time the priest, they gave Lord Caitanya some of this prasada, and he really, a lot of people say good things about prasada, but he's really the original glorifier of prasada. He said, these ingredients such as sugar, camphor, black pepper, cardamom, cloves, butter, spices, and licorice are all material. Everyone has tasted these substances before. However, and these ingredients are extraordinary tastes that are and uncommon fragrances. Just taste them and see the difference in experience. Apart from the taste, even the fragrance pleases the mind and makes one forget all other sweetness besides its own. So he's tasted this prasadam he was given, now he's like telling his associates how good it is. Therefore, it's to be understood that the spiritual nectar of Krishna's lips has tasted these ordinary ingredients and transferred to them all their spiritual qualities. So this food that's offered to Krishna isn't ordinary food. It's transcendental, as spiritually surcharged. A fragrance and taste that are uncommon and greatly enchanting, that make one forget all other experiences are the attributes of Krishna's lips. His prasadam has been made possible only as a result of many pious activities. Now taste it with great faith and devotion. So that's a very important point. We think that, what's the big deal of eating this food that's been offered to Krishna? We can take prasadam whenever we want. But actually, there's this verse that we chant before honoring the prasadam that says that only persons who are very pious can actually have faith. And we see this, we distribute the Halava prasadam on the campus, and not everyone has enough faith to actually take it. I did 12 today, and I had one left over, and so every student went by, I was offering to them. And then there was this one Indian student, and she accepted it, and I asked her, do you know what Gaura Purnima is? She actually knew. And she said, is it today? And I said, yes. So we took her the address. Hopefully she'll come if she hasn't already. But she's from Andhra, and she's familiar with ISKCON, familiar with Gaura Purnima. So, loudly chanting the holy name of Hari, all of his followers tasted the prasadam, and as they tasted it, their minds became mad in the ecstasy of love of God. So the eating the food that's offered to Krishna actually purifies our consciousness. And that was one of, when Lord Chaitanya would, he was very renounced, but on the festival days, he was very much promoting people taking large quantities of prasadam, and he would serve everyone as much as 5 men could eat. And because he was the omniscient Lord, when it came time for seconds, he knew what everybody wanted. So he'd say, give this person sweet rice, give this person pakoras. He would tell the servers to give every individual devotee what they wanted. He also taught to live in the association of devotees. That was another thing in his life. And he taught to study Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. With Srimad Bhagavatam, which has full of pastimes of Krishna and his incarnations, he really promoted the study of that. And he had a follower, Gadadhar Pandit, who was priest in the Toda Gopinath temple, and every afternoon he would go there, and Gadadhar Pandit would read to him from Srimad Bhagavatam, and he would relish the pastimes of Krishna. And he also taught to visit the places associated with Krishna. He went to Vrindavan, and he himself lived in Pur. So another feature of his incarnation, not only did he want to teach bhakti by performing it himself, he wanted to teach the highest level of bhakti. There's different relationships that in the spiritual land of Vrindavan the devotees have with Krishna. And he taught that every soul has an eternal relationship with Krishna, either as a friend of Krishna, a servant of Krishna, or parental, having parental affection like Mother Yashoda or Nanda Maharaj, or a lover of Krishna like Radharani. That we each have one of these relationships with Krishna, and by the chanting of the holy name, that relationship can be developed. It says, by these relationships of servitude, friendship, parental affection, conjugal love, Lord Krishna is actually subdued by the loving affection of his devotees. And so he felt that he hadn't awakened this love in the people in general. So he decided that he would do that in this form of Lord Chaitanya. He said, I shall personally inaugurate the religion of the age, Nama Sankirtan, the congregational chanting the holy name. I shall make the world dance in ecstasy, realizing these 4 kinds of relationships of loving service to Krishna. So that was his whole program. And he performed different pastimes that show that he was Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, things that no ordinary person could do. I'll tell some of those. One time he and his associates, they were chanting in the streets of the village, and everyone was really tired because they've been chanting for hours, and they were greatly fatigued. So Lord Chaitanya, he took a mango seed and he put it in the ground, and a whole tree, just like that. Usually it takes a long time to get a mango tree. It must be decades, right, to get from a seed to something that's actually producing mangoes. So it immediately grew into a tree, and then on the tree, the fruits appeared, and those fruits ripened, just like that. And the Lord immediately picked about 200 fruits. After washing them, he offered them to Krishna. They were all red and yellow, and they had practically no seed and practically no skin. They're like 99% mango pulp. And eating one fruit would immediately fill a man's belly. So, seeing the quality of the mangoes, the Lord was greatly satisfied, and after eating it first, he fed the others to the devotees. The fruits had no seeds or skins, they were full of nectarian juice, and were so sweet, the man would be fully satisfied by eating only one. In this way, fruits grew on the tree every day throughout the 12 months of the year, and the Vaishnavas used to eat them to the Lord's great satisfaction. So we wanted to have some mangoes for the program today, because it's not mango season. We didn't, but they didn't have that problem, because this mango tree would provide mangoes 12 months a year. So that was one of his supernatural pastimes, which indicate that he was Bhagavan, because no one but the Supreme Lord pull something up like that one off. Another time he was going through this forest called Jarikanta, and the deers, they started following him, and then the tigers started following him, and he remembered the land of Vrindavan, because he's Krishna himself, and he began to recite a verse describing Vrindavan. Vrindavan is the transcendental abode of the Lord. There's no hunger, anger, or thirst there. Though naturally inimical, human beings and fierce animals live together in transcendental friendship. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Chant Krishna, Krishna," the tigers and deer began to chant Krishna and dance. So we with great difficulty, we can get human beings to sometimes chant Krishna. And we were singing on Brooklyn Bridge in New York last Sunday, and we got one lady to chant the whole mantra. So she had no prior knowledge of anything about Krishna consciousness, but she chanted the mantra. Sometimes when we sing the mantra, we do it 2 words at a time. And so she was very happy to chant the mantra. But with great determination, occasionally we can get one person, but he got animals to chant just spontaneously like that, and to dance. When all the tigers and does danced and jumped, Ballabhadra Bhattacharya saw them and was struck with wonder. So Ballabhadra Bhattacharya was the servant of the Lord. And of course, you would also probably be struck with wonder if you saw that scene too. Indeed, the tigers and deer began to embrace one another, and touching mouths, they began to kiss. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw this, finally began to smile. Finally left the animals and continued on his way. Various birds, including the peacock, saw Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and began to follow him, chanting and dancing. They were all maddened by the holy name of Krishna. The Lord chanted Hari Bol, and the trees and creepers became jubilant to hear him. All the living entities in the forest of Jarikanda, some moving and standing still, became maddened by hearing the holy name of Krishna. In all the villages through which the Lord passed, in all the places he rested on his journey, everyone was purified and awakened to ecstatic love of God. When someone heard the chanting of the holy name from the mouth of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and someone heard the chanting from that second person, and someone again heard the chanting from the third person, everyone in all countries became a Vaishnava, through such specific succession. Thus everyone engaged, everyone chanted the holy name of Krishna and Hari. They danced, cried, and smiled. So basically, that was his program. He was so ecstatic and chanting Hare Krishna and dancing, people saw him and they would be becoming inspired. Do you have any paper towel? So he taught that every living entity has the potential for love of God within, because we're all part of Krishna. One verse he would quote is, thank you. He would say, the individual soul, by constitution, is the eternal servant of Krishna. And that is Krishna's marginal energy, and we're simultaneously one with and different from Krishna. We're spiritual like Krishna, but we're small, so our relationship with Krishna is out of service. And the greatest joy that the soul can experience is that of when we give pleasure to Krishna. And that attitude can be awakened by this chanting of the holy name. So there's one more pastime, this bit of tell. So one time at Srivas Thakur's house, they were having kirtan, and it was a very ecstatic kirtan. But what happened was, during this kirtan, the son of Srivas Thakur died, and he didn't want to disturb the mood of the Lord, so he didn't bother to tell him. The kirtan was going on. At the end of the kirtan, Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, there must have been some calamity in this house. When he was informed about the death of Srivas Thakur's son, he expressed his regret, saying, why wasn't this news given to me before? Of course, because they didn't want to disturb the kirtan. He went to the place where the son was lying dead and asked him, my dear boy, why are you leaving the house of Srivas Thakur? The dead son immediately replied, I was living in this house as long as I was destined to live here. Now that that time is over, I'm going elsewhere according to your direction. I am your eternal servant, a dependent living being. I must act only according to your desire. Beyond your desire, I cannot do anything. I have no such power. Hearing these words of the dead son, all the members of Srivas Thakur's family received transcendental knowledge, thus there was no cause for lamentation. So I think in the Christian tradition, Christ brings somebody back from the dead. Here, Lord Chaitanya brings somebody back from the dead and engages in the preaching about the eternity of the soul and how one travels from life to life according to the karma. So these are some of the transcendental pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by which we can understand that it's not an ordinary living entity. He's actually Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So, in conclusion, there's three confidential reasons for the Lord's appearance, which I'll just say briefly. So many of you are familiar that Krishna is often worshipped with Radharani, who's his eternal consort. So Krishna perceived actually that Radharani was enjoying the relationship more than he was. So these confidential reasons have to do with that. The first purpose was to relish the position of Radharani, who is the proud and reciprocal transcendental love of Krishna. Krishna is the reservoir of transcendental loving transactions with Srimati Radharani. The subjects of those transactions is the Lord himself, and Radharani is the object. Thus the subject, the Lord, wanted to relish the loving mellow and the position of Radharani. So he wanted to experience what Radha was experienced by loving Krishna. So he had to come in the mood of Radharani. So it's described that he has the mood of Radharani and the color of Radharani. That's where Radharani is called Gaurangi, because she has golden bodily features, and Lord Chaitanya is called Gauranga. And he had the emotions of love for Krishna that Radharani did. The second reason for his appearance was to understand the transcendental mellow of himself. Where Krishna is all sweetness, Radharani's attraction for Krishna is sublime. To experience that attraction and understand the transcendental sweetness of himself, accepted the mentality of Radharani. So not only did he want to experience the joy that Radharani was experiencing in loving Krishna, he wanted to experience what transcendental qualities Krishna had that made Radharani so joyful. And the third reason was Lord Caitanya appeared was to enjoy the bliss tasted by Radharani. The Lord thought that undoubtedly Radharani enjoyed his company and he enjoyed the company of Radharani, but the exchange of transcendental mellow between the spiritual couple was more pleasing to Srimati Radharani than to Lord Krishna. Radharani felt more transcendental pleasure in the company of Krishna, and he could understand without taking her position. But for Krishna to enjoy the position of Radharani was impossible because that position was completely foreign to him. Krishna is the transcendental male and Radharani is the transcendental female. Therefore, to know the transcendental pleasure of loving Krishna, Lord Krishna himself appeared as Lord Chaitanya, accepting the emotions of bodily luster of Srimati Radharani. So for those three reasons, and for the reason of teaching bhakti by performing himself, and teaching the dharma of this age of Kali, the congregational chanting of the names, and for the other reason which we mentioned on the Great Acharya's appearance day, because of the Great Acharya calling for him to come and relieve the degraded condition of the earth. For all those reasons, he appeared on February 18th, 1486, which corresponds to the Purnima day of the month. And so this day is Glories as Janmashtami. And so put it on your eternal calendar. And if you want to increase your service to Lord Chaitanya, his main teaching was that one should chant the holy name a fixed number of times every day. So we chant in our meditation beads 16 times around these meditation beads, and sometimes we encourage people to start by getting some japa some meditation beads, and chanting one time around. But sometimes people think that they're even too busy to do that. I have one friend, he's an Indian man, 9 years older than me. He read my blog and decided I had an exciting life and he wanted to travel with me in Europe for 2 summers. So he was telling me when the devotees encouraged him to take this chanting of Hare Krishna seriously, they told him to chant one mantra every day. That's the big thing people say they're too busy, right? Even if you tell them to chant one time around the beads, they'll still say they're too busy. So the devotees who were preaching to him, they just told him to chant one mantra every day. Because no one can say they're too busy to chant one mantra. So if you could start today and chant at least one mantra of the Hare Krishna, to please Lord Chaitanya, you'll see that your life will be move in a spiritual direction beyond your imagination. So I guess we can end here. Thank you for your time. I hope I increased your knowledge of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu on his auspicious day of appearance. Thank you. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai.